Hello again, best buddies. Now, before we dive into this first part of the, I guess you could call it, timeline of events that's going to make up today's video, I just want to address a few concerns that are being emailed to us and left in the comments by just reminding everyone that this channel only covers what you guys want to see. Basically, the way this works is that we go through all the emails, all the comments, we add up all the different tips and requests, and whatever the most popular topics are is what gets made into a video. It really is that simple. We really like the idea of doing it that way, and other than the first maybe 10 or so videos we did that we've actually deleted at this point, that's just how we're doing things, at least at this point in time. So the bottom line is that if you want to see something specifically covered, just send an email or leave a comment. That's it, literally. The overwhelming majority of these requests are from people that basically just want to see an article discussed or broken down or whatever, and we're more than happy to oblige. I've learned more about our mysterious universe in the last month just from reading through your requests and tips than I have over the last decade or so that I've been interested in these kind of topics. So that being said, today's video might not be the most exciting or mysterious story that we've talked about, but it's one that's been requested ever since we released our very first MH-370 video. I've been putting this off for a while because it just kind of seemed to me like most people were probably already familiar with the story of MH-370, especially if they're watching us go over different random theories and articles about it here on the Unknown Observer. But the more views we get on those videos, the more requests we get to just lay out the official story from beginning to end. And so here we are. A lot of this timeline was taken directly from Wikipedia and from other sources, so keep in mind that this is basically just the straight up official story of the disappearance. The sources for all of this information is linked in the description, so definitely make sure you check that out if you have issues or questions or concerns or anything like that about any of the information here. I'll put exact screenshots from the specific sources whenever we read directly from any of those sources. And even though this is only part one of this video series, those, I guess you could say, guidelines will be true of all the subsequent videos as well. So for example, even when we get all the way up to part 5 or 7 or the last episode or whatever, whenever we are reading directly from the source, we'll put a screenshot to it, and no matter what we're talking about, there will be a link to the actual source in the description of that specific video as well. So, trying to not waste any more time than necessary here, I'll start at the very beginning. MH-370 was a commercial passenger flight under Malaysia Airlines scheduled from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport on March 8, 2014. The flight carried a total of 239 people, including both passengers and the crew or staff. A little less than an hour into the flight, air traffic control lost contact with MH370, but it was then picked up by military radar as it crossed over the peninsula of Malaysia, and it was last seen on radar flying over the Andaman Sea. After analyzing automatic comms being sent from the plane to a satellite network, it was discovered that the aircraft was flying into the South Indian Ocean right before all communications ended around 0819. Several countries participated in the most expensive lost aircraft case in aviation history thus far, and the search efforts have been criticized from several angles. It's fair to say that countless theories have been presented as a result of the perceived mishandling of all the search efforts, some of which we have briefly covered here. During the immediate weeks after flight MH370 disappeared, the search mostly focused on the oceans around Southeast Asia, and an official investigation into the plane's disappearance was eventually opened to try to figure out not only where it went, but what exactly went wrong. It's important to remember that there were some unusual events going on with the communications, so there was a lot of concern about what might have happened. About a week after the official search began, Malaysia announced officially that communications between the plane and the aircraft satellite network had been analyzed, resulting in the determination that MH-370 had continued to fly for several hours after it had lost contact with air traffic control. Its last communication on the network was made along one of two arcs stretching northwest into Central Asia and southwest into the southern Indian Ocean. The northern arc was discounted and the focus of the search shifted to a remote area of the southern Indian Ocean. On the 18th of March, 10 days after contact was lost, Australia began to lead a preliminary search of the southern areas of the Indian Ocean that continued until April 28. This search covered an area of around 4.5 million square kilometers, or about 1.7 million square miles of ocean surface. So, what about the black boxes, right? Every passenger airplane has them, almost all aircraft have them, right? Well, I'll go back to Wikipedia for the official stance on that. In early April, an effort to find the signals emitted from underwater locator beacons, or ULBs, attached to the aircraft's flight recorders, which have a 30 to 40 day battery life, was made. Some possible ULB detections were made, and a seafloor sonar survey in the vicinity of the detections to scan the seafloor was initiated. The seafloor sonar survey ended on May 28 and scanned 860 square kilometers, or 330 square miles, of seafloor. Neither the surface search nor the seafloor sonar survey found any objects related to flight MH370. It wasn't until March 24th that the Prime Minister of Malaysia officially declared that flight MH370 had quote-unquote ended in the southern Indian Ocean and that there was likely no survivors. The next phase of the search was planned in May 2014, during which a bathymetric survey was carried out to measure the seafloor topography. This survey charted 208,000 square kilometers, or 80,000 square miles, of seafloor topography and continued until December that year, 2014. Returning back to Wikipedia here, an underwater search began in October 2014, but failed to recover anything of value and was suspended in January 2017 after searching 120,000 square kilometers, or 46,000 square miles, of the southern Indian Ocean. On July 29, 2015, a flaperon from flight MH370 was discovered on a beach in Reunion Island, approximately 4,000 kilometers or 2,500 miles west of the underwater search area. This location is consistent with drift from the underwater search area over the intervening 16 months. And so this brings us to the end of the initial summary, or part 1, I guess you could say. A lot of this is verbatim from Wikipedia or other sources, and again, there are links to all of this in the description. If you're familiar with researching this event, then you already know that none of this is really news at all. It's been known for quite a while now. But again, this is what we got a ton of requests for, so, you know, we're happy to cover it for you guys. I know a lot of you keep saying that you kind of just listen to the videos at work or in the car or whatever, almost like a podcast or something. And yeah, that makes perfect sense because a lot of times there's pretty much just generic filler material going on the screen anyways. So we really have no problem doing whatever it is that you guys want to see, or hear rather. So just keep the requests coming and we'll be more than happy to cover it for you. Even though we kind of called this video a timeline, it's basically only part 1 of what I want to be like maybe an 8 or 10 part series, or like a playlist of the actual full timeline. This would be just the flat out generic summary, but each subsequent part would kind of go in order and break down just the plethora of information surrounding this entire event. I really think that by keeping each segment of the timeline separated into shorter videos like this, we can still put them all in a playlist or something so that you guys can watch or listen to the entire thing basically as one long video if you want to, but it really just gives us a chance to keep things in short sections so that it's easier to find exactly which part that people might be looking for, specifically if they're doing their own research. It also kind of gives us a chance to go more in depth within each individual segment. I mean, you gotta think, if we put the entire timeline into one video, it would probably have to be like 3 hours long or something, and it would just kind of run together in a way that wouldn't be easy to listen to, for one thing, and it would also probably just take us months to finish it, you know. And of course, we're also trying to balance the requests for this timeline with all the other requests that we've been getting, which includes missing 411 type stuff, and also finally some exciting new UFO stuff. I actually got one email specifically about a pretty interesting sighting that just happened over Phoenix, where it looks like several helicopters are escorting some type of unidentified craft. It would be kind of a nice break from some of these other topics that we've been getting into here so heavily lately, for, you know, all of us to be able to go over some of that stuff. So definitely let us know if that's anything that you're interested in seeing more about. Anyways, we're just kind of playing it by ear for right now. It's still a really small channel, but we did just reach 1,000 subscribers recently, so we definitely want to thank your socks off for that. Just keep in mind, we're trying to manage our time better. We haven't even thought about monetization or setting up any kind of silly way to make income from any of this, but if we do eventually get enough interest and support, then that would obviously give us both more time off of work that we could dedicate to the channel and doing things like getting better editing software, maybe even animations, better equipment, all of that kind of stuff. And that's obviously all just a pipe dream for right now, of course, but we just want to always kind of keep you guys updated on what's going on over here on our end and just kind of our general plans for the future. That being said though, we're happy to just continue this channel forever as a part-time hobby. It all just comes down to time management, since both of us that are working on this also have pretty crappy full-time jobs. Don't forget to send an email or leave a comment about what you want to see next, whether it's the next part of the MH-370 timeline, this new Phoenix sighting, or another missing 411 case, whatever it is. I'm looking at the story of Blair Adams right now, which is one of the strangest cases that I've seen so far, so make sure that you check that out in case you'd like to see that. And as always, we love you guys more than anything. You're the entire reason that we even bother with this channel, and don't forget to check back soon, and we will see you guys then. Peace.